Welcome to tonight's PEPP Story live show, where tonight I'm talking about platform mechanics. Now, that may be a term you haven't heard of before, so I'm going to explore that because platform mechanics is everything that's going on when you do a speech, online or offline, apart from the speech itself. So it's all the other stuff that's happening around your speech. So let's get into it. So, platform mechanics. I first came across this term in 1995. I joined the National Speakers Association in America, went over there, and they had these 8 competencies. I got all the details about what I should do to learn. And this was all about becoming a professional speaker. I'd done professional speaking by that stage, but it wasn't very well organized in the UK. And so I was learning about the business of speaking, which is what the NSA and the PSA are all about. It's about teaching people the business of speaking, not the art and craft of speaking. So only a small amount of those competencies involved the actual presentation skills. Most of it was about sales and marketing and book production and topic development, all those sorts of things. And in the midst of this was platform mechanics. So it's everything else that's going on. So we're thinking here in terms of the purpose, experience, passion, performance, story. We're still in this performance area. Now, we've looked in detail at slides over the last couple of nights, and those are part of platform mechanics, part of the process of what we're going to be doing. But platform mechanics is well, it's a huge topic. And it's one so often overlooked by speakers. The times I see speakers arrive and they're prima donnas when it comes to the AV crew, treating them as if they're somehow just backroom staff. The AV crew are crucial. If you don't get a good relationship with them, they can mess your whole presentation up. And the same applies when doing stuff online. I'm doing a lot of it just on my own. But if I'm doing a big event, then I would expect there to be somewhere around someone who really does know technically what's going on and can make sure that we switch from event to event, that things happen at the right time, that slides come in video feeds that arrive. And if you think about a TV studio, it's packed with all sorts of people who are making that event happen. At the end of a movie, when the credits come up, you see a list of all the cast, and then you start to see all the people behind it, and you think, wow, who are they all? All the people necessary to bring their bit of expertise to make the film work, to make the show work. And speakers are no different. We're not working on our own. We're part of a team. We may be the one up front. We may be the one that's being seen, but without the people behind it making it all work, it's all going to go wrong. So everything apart from the speech falls into platform mechanics, and you need to think about it when you're doing a presentation. Because if it goes wrong, then what's going to happen is that your speech will go wrong. As far as the audience is concerned, however, it's a different story. Because platform mechanics should be hidden in plain sight. It's there. You can see it, but you should be unaware of it. The audience should not be aware of it. If the audience becomes aware of the platform mechanics, then there's something going wrong with the platform mechanics. And trust me, I think every speaker in the world, and certainly I am no exception, has had massive problems go wrong. And I'm not going to do what went wrong my worst nights before. I think I've actually talked about that earlier on in the month. So let's think about the things where you've got to look at. First of all is in the staging. Now, when I use the term staging, I'm obviously now thinking in terms of this. I've got to think about here. So I've thought about how this is going to look. When I'm online, I've thought about the fact I want my logo at the top, a little bit at the bottom. I've thought about these what they call lower thirds, the things that pop up along the screen so you can actually see them there. I've thought about the backdrop. That happens to be my lounge, but it's not in my lounge. It's a picture, because in my lounge is, other people are in and out. And Also, in order to get that particular backdrop, I need to be sitting on the arm of another settee, and it certainly wouldn't work. But it was a nice image, and I've got lots of different ones that I can bring up if I want to. I've got a green screen behind me, and that green screen enables me to have pictures behind me. So all of that is setting. So we're thinking about all of those things now. One of the biggest problems, particularly on live presentations, is the slides, and they get in the way. And I'll be honest, it's just as big a problem on online presentations as well. I'm at the moment working really hard to tackle the issue. And here's the problem. The average room that you hire to do a presentation has a screen right slap bang in the middle, with usually an overhead projector, data projector hanging from the ceiling, but sometimes it's plonked slight bang in the center of the room, in the center of that center aisle. I hate center aisles. I'll come to that in a minute. So what happens is that from that point onwards, you can't be center stage as a speaker. You're always going to be the narrator, standing on the side, talking to the center stage has now become the PowerPoint slides. So there's the first problem that you've got in terms, and I find as I arrive to do a meeting, I've been for a while, but it will come back. We arrive at a meeting, and I know I've got, if I'm organizing the meeting myself, or even if not, I know I need to be there an hour, 2 hours beforehand, just to see what's being done to set up the stage. How difficult is it to work? How high is it? What are the steps like? Are they easy to get up and down? Is it noisy? I walk around the stage. The primary thing I'm thinking about when I'm walking around the stage is this noisy? Is it creaking? Are the shoes I'm wearing wrong? What's the surface of the stage like? How big is it? Sometimes it's like a 50-foot long stage, and you've got to walk right to the center. Sometimes there's a lectern. I've been on one stage where everything was set so that every speaker was going to be behind the lectern. The organizers hadn't even thought about the fact that maybe the speaker didn't want to stand behind the lectern. It was almost impossible not to. Couldn't come off the stage, because if I did, the cameras couldn't pick me up because the lighting was all on stage and they couldn't film anything outside of a certain area. You may have watched TED Talks and noticed those red circles and red carpets. That's the filming area. You have to stay on the carpet. The moment you come off the carpet, you're out of shot. You just go into darkness, and therefore the camera can't pick you up. It's been set to pick you up in the lighting on the stage. So all of these things are really important. And of course, if it's a large meeting and you're being filmed and then projected up onto big screens, the moment you go out of the light area, you disappear on screen. So everybody in the audience now becomes aware that there's a problem. You're no longer being picked up on video. Suddenly they've got to change the cameras. All sorts of things have got to modify. If you don't tell the AV team before you do something like that, they're not ready for it. They don't know it's going to happen. They can't adjust the lighting for when you move out. They can't make sure they've got another camera specifically set up to catch you when you move out of the light. All of these things need to be thought through. It's not just get up there and deliver a speech. It's a show, a production, and you have to do it. So don't let the screen become center stage, if possible. Sometimes you can't do anything about it. But I've done all sorts of things. I've sometimes had to move the whole room about when I've got because there's been a projector right in the middle of the room, right in the center. That means that I can't talk to the audience. If I'm stuck on one side, the audience on the other side of the projector I can't really reach them, because every time I do, I walk in front of the image on the screen. So you get this, can you see what my hands are doing? Distracting you, because all of a sudden I'm walking in front of the slides. What if I don't want the slide on? What if I actually want to switch it off? Can I do that? Can I reach the, you can, on a computer, you can do it. Sometimes the remote projector control has a blank feature, so you can press a button and blank the screen, turn it to black or turn it to white. That then cuts it out so that you can move in front and talk without having to have the screen slides up. But I usually want to make sure I can go past the projector. So I've even had the whole of the seating move back so that I can actually move around more effectively and I can engage with all the audience. I've not been big, the hotel don't like it when I do it, but you only need to move a couple of rows forward and put them at the back. So I actually hate center aisles. I'll come to that in a minute. So then we've got to think about lighting, background, stage set, lectern. Do I want a lectern? Can we have it moved? Is it possible? Is it big, bulky? I'm sure you've seen times when a quite small speaker comes up and the lectern is huge, and then all you can see is a small little head poking over the top of this big lectern. Now, simpler way, put a box there so that somebody who's a little shorter can stand up on the box and they can still look, their full self. Maybe they don't want to use a lectern. But if the lectern sometimes is positioned so centrally, it's difficult to avoid it. It looks very odd. I've seen things where we've had to arrange that at certain times during the day, the lectern is removed or is moved. The chief executive wanted it in the morning, but, the speakers coming later didn't. So all of these things have to be treated very carefully, negotiated well, so that everybody knows. So lighting, background set, now that's all pretty much set. Okay, there's not much you can do to change the background. But, what if the background has got colors that actually mean that your clothing is the same color? So when you're standing in front of it, you disappear completely. Can't see you. So, you've got to wear, this is why speakers often wear quite vibrant colors. Come onto a camera here. If you've got stripes across here, it'll get very very distracting. So you've got to watch carefully and I've got some thoughts about that a little bit later on. So the lighting, I've got quite a lot of lighting here. I've got a light shining at the roof. I've got some normal lights up here. I've got a big ring light, casting light on me. I need that because the green screen needs quite a lot of light. Otherwise it doesn't work. So there are a whole bunch of different things you've got to do. So you've got to think about the lighting where you stand. I remember once getting on a stage to do a presentation and the whole auditorium the lights would drop so low, I could not see anything because on the lectern was a really, really bright light to light the lectern so I could see my notes. So I walked up to the stage. I hadn't practiced it. I checked it out. I'd done some rehearsals, but we hadn't done it a full lighting show. So I got up on stage. The lights were down. I looked out and I thought, oh, I could just see this like curtain of blackness. I could hear sounds, but I couldn't see anyone. And it's so disconcerting. So all of those things you've got to think about. Now we've got to think about audio visuals, sage, slides, props. How are they going to come in? Can we check the slides and make sure I sometimes have to send the slides because they can't use my lectern. They want to put it onto the production machine. Sometimes I get there with my Mac and find, they haven't got a connector which can connect into my Mac because it uses HDMI or so will it connect up? And I've had years of this problems with computers not talking to projectors and all manner of challenges. Always be prepared to deliver your speech without slides if necessary. So think about all the visual aids. How is music coming in? How are you going to use that? Have the speakers being connected? Have you got sound that's properly working there? Again, is it loud enough? I use little video clips in some of my workshops. And I need to make sure the sound is enough that people can hear that right throughout the room. We've got to think, of course, now online, I've got to start thinking about cameras. I've actually only using one camera here, but I've got 3 or 4 cameras in the room. How am I going to set those up so that they all work? I might be using software which switches from one microphone to another or one camera to another. All of that needs to be thought through and sorted out. If I'm being up on screen, I said we've got to make sure that I'm in, that the lighting all works for that. So then we come to sound. Sound is more important than visuals in speaking. If the sound isn't right, if the voice isn't right, if the sound is crackly, if there's extraneous noise, that will ruin it. I have lots of microphones. So what happens when you arrive and you're just about to go on stage and bump, you hand in a microphone? Now, the problem here is it's a handheld microphone. Now, if you've also got in your hand a remote control for your PowerPoint slides, you've now got both your hands full, and you've got to bring this in here. Trust me, this is a challenge. You need to be thinking very hard. Using the microphone, how do you use the microphone best? How far away from your mouth should you have the microphone? And do you need to keep it consistent? What happens if you keep forgetting and it's down? Handling a microphone is something you need to practice. You don't want to practice the first time you stand in front of an audience. You don't want that to be the first time you've actually practiced using a handheld mic. It doesn't often happen now. But they're going to put more clip on around here with the microphone down by your face. Or what if you've just had your hair done and it's all nice and full? This is now going to clamp your hair and it's going to mess up your look. I'd probably spend quite a lot of time when I'm getting ready to go on. So we've got to make sure that that's going on. When I'm doing these sort of workshops, you probably can't see it at the moment because of a thing. I have a really big microphone here. There we go. There's my microphone, my Blue Yeti mic, which sits on a remote arm, so I can actually bring it in and bring it out. But also, I might, from time to time, use a small microphone. This is my Rode microphone, which I plug in one. This is one that will plug into a recording device or to it won't plug into my phone now. I have to have another attachment to plug it into my phone. But again, these are all the sorts of things I need. When I go on the road, I've got an attachment to plug my laptop, my Mac into the machine. I've got this. It has to have another plug in there. I've got plugs to plug into projectors. I have so many cables when I go out, audio cables, everything. And I need to make sure I've got that whole kit with me to make sure that I'm ready for anything. Your introduction is part of the process. Now, we've talked about it's part of your speech, but actually it's something which somebody else is doing. It's something other than your direct speech. You need to have it written out. Clothing, costume. You may be costumed for an event. I've done events where I've been wearing a costume. And I've done events in some of the weirdest places. So when I said about staging, I did a presentation on gender in a atrium of a shopping precinct with 3 layers of balconies that people were looking down at me while I was speaking. Sound. Oh God, that was so difficult. And I didn't get an awful lot of time to practice that one either. So this is when it comes down to the co-host, the chair, AV crew. You've got a whole bunch of people who you're working with. People who are really wanting you to get this right because their credibility is based on that. So first thing I do, go and have a chat with the AV crew. Tell them about anything special I might want. Is there going to be a problem? Could we do this? How can we do that? Yeah, these are professionals. They do this all the time. Don't assume you know more than these guys. You almost certainly don't. They know what they're doing. So tell them what's going to happen. Get your slides to them in plenty of time. Check the slides through with them. Make sure they're all working properly. Talk to the co-host who's introducing you. Where are you coming onto the stage? If you're on a online thing, what do you want the co-host to do? How are they going to be helping you? Are they checking the chat? Are they checking for questions? Are they checking Twitter feeds? What's going on? How are they communicating with you? Because you're online, you're talking. Maybe you'll be using a WhatsApp stream coming in, or Snap, or a Facebook Messenger, using something that enables them to communicate directly with you so that you can see what's happening. Because when you're speaking, you've got one screen in front of you. Well, you might have multiple screens, but you may need a co-host to help, and it may be somebody else's system. You may be doing something on Teams for a company, and you're just a guest. So you don't have any controls over what's happening in the framework. You need to be able to check that. Seating layout, that's also quite important. I hate that, because what happens with the center aisle is if I'm standing in the center of the stage, I'm not speaking to anybody. They're over there or they're over there. So I like to have a single block of people in front of me and 2 aisles further on, if we can, put people in a slight semicircle. But I also like cabaret style, people in 6 people around a table, all facing towards me. Sometimes schoolroom style works, bench, best herringbone. There are a whole range of boardroom style. I love a big horseshoe for some types of workshops. Different presentations, different workshops really, really demand different types of layout within the auditorium, within the where the audience are. And is it comfortable? Is it cold? Too hot? Too warm? Because if people are uncomfortable, if it's really cold, if there's those downdraft air conditioners blowing down on them, they're going to get really cold. They're not going to listen to your speech while they're sitting there shivering with the air pouring down on them. So all of these factors, can you see how everything there, nobody notices it when it's all working well. When it starts to go wrong, everybody notices it, and then they stop listening to you. So what you've got to try to do to make sure of, and you have varying degrees of control over all of these platform mechanics. Sometimes you have almost no control at all. Sometimes you're completely in charge and you've got to get it fixed. But the important thing is that almost always you're working as part of a team in some way, and you're trying to make sure that that presentation goes on, that people hear your message, take action, remember your name. Remember your message, take action, remember your name. Remember, that's what we're trying to achieve. Okay, that's it for today. Platform mechanics. Hope you found that useful and interesting. It's difficult to fill it. It's a huge, huge topic. But what I want you to think about simply is, when you're doing a presentation, don't just focus on what you're going to say. Focus on the environment and making sure that that is conducive to people just sitting and enjoying your presentation. Get rid of the distractions by making the platform mechanics work for you. Join me tomorrow for day 23. Remember, if you need some coaching to help you with a presentation, just drop me a line at ricky.arnold.co.uk and we can set up a free 30-minute introductory session. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And so that's it. There we go. Oops, balance. Let's get rid of that one. And take care. Hope you've enjoyed that.